Wake up, Adam, they are getting close.
The U.S. and South Korean officials huddle for new nuclear planning talks. The new nuclear war planning talks just went ahead. And of course, a lot of folks are talking about it. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol said on Tuesday a new nuclear consultative group between South Korea and the United States would be a, quote, starting point to build a strong and effective deterrence against North Korea. Officials from the United States and South Korea are meeting on Tuesday in Seoul for the first nuclear consultative group. And guys, to say new nuclear, if you guys know, when I first started the show, I would literally say nuclear. Thank you for fixing that over 2 years of doing it back to back. But they're talking about this discussion aimed at better coordinating allied nuclear response in the event of a war with North Korea. They have also put in South Korea a nuclear submarine. This nuclear submarine was one of the first times. In fact, we actually put out our own article about this, that we've talked about it before, and how this is a pretty big deal. For the first time in decades, they're actually putting these back in South Korea. Let me bring in Dex real quick. So Dex, anything with nuclear, people kind of push away, and it's taboo, and you can't talk about it. But this is kind of freaky because they're talking about nuclear war.
It certainly is, and it's all about the threats that are coming from Kim and NK, and what they've, all the ICBM launches and the threats to test more nukes, and the verbal threats that have said, hey, if you do anything towards us, we will, launch nukes, and specifically probably at South Korea, meaning as it's so close, in Japan, but they've also said they can reach America as well. So for us to put a sub there with nukes on it and surface it and put it at the dock in South Korea definitely is a sign of strength, and showing them that, hey, we mean business, because we haven't done that in a long time. I think in 2016 we may have put a submarine there that was a cruise missile submarine. It wasn't a nuclear. It was nuclear powered, maybe. I don't know, but it wasn't a nuclear armed submarine. This one's a nuclear armed submarine.
What I wonder is how long are nukes going to stay? Obviously, with Japan, they dropped the first nuke. They still continued to fight after the first one was dropped. After the second, they said, okay, we got to talk about this. We got to do something, and whatever else. And really, nukes for all of these years have been so scary that they are the deterrent. Nobody wants to see these things being used. They are so absolutely terrifying. They wipe out whole cities. To the point where people it's been this thing forever. But at this point now, technology has been advancing and advancing and advancing, now to the point where some of the major powers have come up with hypersonics, and these things could basically hit really quickly. And it's been like this back and forth war of well, we have this super fast thing, and then we have the super defense thing, and then we have even a faster one, and basically always trying to keep up to make sure that basically mine can hit yours before you can defend against it or hit me back, right? But it's mad, mutually assured destruction. Nobody wants to see it happen. With South Korea and North Korea, the freaky part is that North Korea is this hermit kind of unpredictable state. I don't personally think it's as unpredictable as they say it is, because I think they're a puppet. But that's even scarier to me, because they could use North Korea to do a Fantastic Freddy event on any country and get this whole thing popped off. By whole thing, I mean, World War III. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, there's all sorts of angles that this could play out from. I mean, obviously, this meeting is specifically about deterrence for South Korea against a nuclear attack from North, and so that's why they're there. That's why they're doing this. That's why they're saying it. But at the end of the day, we know NK could be, on the puppet strings of Xi or Vlad or both. And he could be, doing all this saber rattling just to, make us do what we're doing now for distraction, for other nefarious purposes that we don't know that they could be doing. There's a lot that could be happening here besides just, oh, there's some crazy man over in NK who's gonna, potentially launch a nuke. There's a lot more to the story that we probably don't understand at this point.
And I don't think we're gonna find out what's going on until after something happens. But we can try to follow every piece that they give to the public, and then try to guess what is the truth, what's BS, what's propaganda, and we'll figure it out from there. Tonight we're going to be talking about all sorts of really crazy events that have just happened. Russia just hit a mass retaliatory strike. They are going to do a massive offensive, according to many sources. They actually are amassing 100,000 troops for an attack on Kharkiv. Henry Kissinger, along a huge list of folks, just went and visited Beijing. John Kerry was like yesterday or the day before. We've had one after another, these guys visiting China. Phoenix and other places, 110 for 19 days straight. America is being smoked out as far as the fires are just insane. 23 states. So we've got a lot to talk about here. Well, we'll talk about Wagner, Russia, Ukraine, of course, South Africa involved again. We'll talk about all of it tonight. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, there's going to be a lot tonight, so remember, we actually have a full source list, a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to talk about here today is going to be over on marfooglenews.com. Now, when you go over there, you'll see that everything is easily organized by thumbnail. You'll just go to today's thumbnail with the wrong way. Of course, American defected into North Korea. When I first saw that, it was actually from Ilea. One of my mods sent me that, and I was kind of blown away because at first, like the first time that I heard about it, it said an American soldier went into North Korea. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Was this something on purpose? Was this a spy? Was this some guy who went in there to attack them or something? There was no information. It was a breaking story. It was like 2 lines, and it said this story is continuing. So I was thinking, what the heck is going on here? But we'll talk about that later here today, too. We have tons to go over. But remember, you have a full source list, full bibliography right there, and you have a whole lot more at the very bottom. At the very bottom, there is the web only and overflow. That is all the stuff that we could not fit into the show today. So make sure to utilize that as well, because there's a lot of the political stuff, a lot of the stuff that's too hot for TV, so to speak, or too hot for the tube. Too hot for the tube. All right, let's bring him in. My co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, this is, it's kind of hilarious now. U.S. soldier reportedly cackled and while defecting to North Korea. Apparently, as you see these areas that we're talking about, this is the same place where Trump and Kamala basically went there and had all that weird. If you saw the Kamala time when she went here, It was so awkward. I don't know if you saw the meeting where Kamala went there and she was supposedly going to possibly talk to somebody. This same area, I want to point out, when we covered this, that one of those windows right there was a guy basically hunched over in the window like just a Chad sitting there, and then another Chad on his back, and it looked like he had like some sort of sniper just sitting out the window. So awkward. You have all of the media there. Kamala was supposedly going to possibly meet and talk to somebody, and then oddly enough, they had like hot mics all over the place. And there was one person that was like, you need to get out of the way. You're in the way of the cameras and this and this and that. And it was like super chaotic and hectic. And you saw the behind the scenes of how they really act right before the cameras go on. And then they're saying, oh, we got to get out of here. And they acted like something bad was about to happen. And they basically skedaddled and then talked from a little bit farther away. But as far as like the Trump meeting and stuff, we saw this historic area, and Trump went across and held hands, gave flowers to, or whatever he did with Kim. And this is supposedly the same area where this American defector basically was on some sort of tour and cackled and said, ha ha ha, and went into North Korea. It said the American citizen who defected to North Korea during a border tour on Tuesday has been identified as U.S. Army Private Travis King, according to multiple U.S. officials who spoke to the AP and other outlets. King had been set to fly back to the U.S. after being detained in South Korea on assault charges for roughly 2 months, according to the officials, who added that he was escorted by a South Korean airport for his flight back to Fort Bliss, Texas. So, Dex, was this an active duty soldier until his charges? Was this guy an actual soldier? Go ahead.
He's a soldier. He was facing additional charges or reprimands from the U.S. military once he got back stateside. They were escorting him, and according to this report, now there was reports all over the place about this, and it's evolving. But according to this report, they had escorted him. South Korea had escorted him into the airport, but once he got past security, he was able to leave or somehow escape. He wasn't necessarily being fully detained. So he left, and he ended up commingling into a tour group, and that tour group went over to the city that's on the border to tour that. And that, I can't remember the name of the town, but the town that's right there that sits and straddles the border and has the demarcation line through the middle of it. And as he's walking through the tour group, as you said, he says, ha ha ha, and he goes running across to the other side. So that's just the oddest thing I've ever heard, because there's hundreds and hundreds of people coming the other direction, but you never see anybody going that way.
And this is why this doesn't sit right. Put on your tinfoil hat for a minute here, because he is a soldier, active duty. They say he has charges, whatever else. He's innocent until proven guilty. We don't know what he actually did. We don't know if this is some sort of op or something to get, because this thing is heavily monitored. So if anybody goes that way into the border, people know about it. So maybe that's the plan, to get this guy in so he can then talk or bring a disk drive or something to North Korea, or to bring spy plans, or he's a traitor, or he could be a CIA agent or something going over there to be like, hey, you guys are going to aim here and then shoot there, and then we're going to start WW3. Whatever it is. Or he's just a psychopath that says, yeah, I want to go to North Korea on vacation. He was obviously looking at charges, but it doesn't look like he was looking at like life in prison, at least not from what we see here. So why in the heck would he go over to North Korea? It doesn't make sense. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your opinions on this in chat. Something just doesn't sit right. Thank you, Carol, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Thank you for supporting Independent. But he said that the U.S. Army told the Daily Beast that the service member willfully slipped away from the tour and crossed into the Hermit Kingdom. It is the first U.S. defection to the communist regime since the 1960s. So something doesn't sit right about this. There's cameras, there's monitoring all over the place. So if any American, just on normal, say if a CIA agent wanted to sneak in, it would be hard for anybody to sneak in without causing some sort of national thing. And maybe they say, oh, he's just a crazy guy, or that he's a prisoner that, tried to get out for whatever reason. I bet you they're going to say, oh, he was just trying to get out of a sentence or something, whatever. Say he sneaks in there, and then he either brings information or he's part of this whole plan. I don't know, though, because Couldn't they just bring somebody in and have Kim Jong-un meet them? Something like that. I'd love to hear some of your theories. Go ahead, Dex.
Hope he can play some really good basketball.
Yeah, and dye his hair, right? Because
Exactly.
Kim only likes what's his face, Dennis Rodman. Yeah, that's the weirdest relationship ever. I did, when they did the interview, that movie that made fun of Kim Jong-un, did they ever? They didn't have like Dennis Rodman in that movie, did they? I don't think they even made a reference to Dennis Rodman in that movie, but that should be a movie in itself, a comedy. Let's see here. Thank you, Mimi Carstill. Thank you for the support on the last show. I appreciate that. Thank you for Love of Country 1. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. It says join me. Let's support our truthers. Thank you, Marf Dex, and all who support you guys. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that for Love of Country 1. Thank you for continuing to support us. Now it's been years. Carol, thank you. Mimi, LAPD SWAT, NJM, Debbie Rogers, Mark Ramos, Samuel Turner, Airplane Woman, Celtic Warrior, Nana of Montana, Tanya H, 50 Shades of Cray, and Julie Pilkerton, and Next Exit, Nikki Apple, and Cap for Life. Thank you guys, and thank you for supporting us this week. Again, thank you for supporting Independent. And then North Korea's tallest building is an abandoned hotel that never hosted a single guest. Take a closer look at the Hotel of Doom. So it's actually kind of like China's ghost town or ghost cities, right? Only it's a tower with nothing in it. Dex, this is really funky.
Yeah. They can't afford to do a ghost city. They can just get away with a ghost tower there in NK. But I didn't even know this story until we saw it in the news today. Obviously, NK is rife with news today, given everything else. But this came out, or they were talking about this, and it's rather fascinating. So this is the building. It's 1,080 feet tall. It's actually got the Guinness World Record because it's the tallest unoccupied building in the world. They call it the Hotel of Doom. It's 105 stories. They built it and could barely afford to get it finished, at least the exterior. And even that is somewhat not completely done in certain areas. And the inside is just not done at all. So this thing has been sitting, I think I don't remember when they said they started. It was back in 87, I believe, is when they halted it due to economic troubles. So yeah, this has been here for quite a while. We don't travel to NK, so we don't have a lot of insight into the buildings and interesting things they may or may not have there. But you can see through all these different pictures that are in the article, you can see the various states of the building at different times. They've had firework displays off of it back in 2009 to try to make a big to do about it. It tends to be in the backdrop of a lot of things, but it is still an empty building, incomplete, sitting in the middle of the town.
And this is what it looked like up until when they finished it. They must have got a paycheck from G or from Vlad, but either way, it's actually really cool looking. Like, I've never seen a building like this. And if I would see this like in Las Vegas, as far as North Korea goes, one thing that I think is funny is there's a ton of pictures of all of their main city, and they obviously, at least the basic infrastructure is there. That they have nicer streets than we do here in Seattle. In fact, I think they spend money on crack pipe vending machines rather than our roads here. But hey, priorities. Apparently, North Korea, they've got their priorities straight. Unfortunately, no one is in it. And then we have Chuck Schumer, the UFO bill that is not messing around about aliens. First of all, in the title, it says that it's not messing around about aliens, but I think the whole thing is BS. My personal opinion is that this is all a manufactured huge distraction, and there might be aliens, and there is guaranteed some secretive things up in the sky. And there might even be secretive things in the sky from other planets. But Congress's push and all of these politicians push to get it out there. They're not concerned about the U.S. safety. They're not concerned about our safety. They're not concerned about any of that. These guys are getting a paycheck, or they're getting told to say this stuff about UFOs because it enthralls people. I swear they must have had a meeting in some sort of small room, and they said, oh, these people are so stupid, we can distract them. We'll literally start talking about UFOs. But we're congressmen and politicians. We can't do that. And they're like, look around. It's a complete circus. They don't care. They'll be enthralled with this. They'll be completely distracted by this. They say that they're going to disclose everything, but they haven't disclosed anything. And if they do disclose everything, then it's most likely going to be something that is, completely part of some sort of future agenda. It says last week, Senator Chuck Schumer proposed legislation that would declassify as many records as possible. I love how they say as many as possible, because it doesn't matter if they say we want to do as many as possible. They're still going to redact everything, and they're still going to put out as little as possible. Or they'll put out as much as possible. They'll put out 50,000 pages, but they'll all be redacted. Regarding the Pentagon's experience with unidentified foreign objects, it was a step towards actual clarity from the government. This is the Senate Majority Leader, after all, not just some crackpot backbencher in the House. But some UFO believers remain concerned that the bill, modeled after the President John F. Kennedy Nation Records Collection Act, would leave key documents in the dark, as the JFK bill has, which was redacted. It's insane. Anything where you think you're getting to something important, if you actually read through them, redacted. It says a deeper look at the bill provided by the Hill shows that Schumer is serious about getting the UFO info out there. When is Schumer serious at all? And I'm not saying this is a personal thing against him, but when you see him speak, he is a literal jester, in my opinion. He goes out and he does these press conferences after things that with T-Man, with our former president, with President JB, with the release and leaks of documents, with Supreme Court, with all these times that he's come out. He is a paid actor, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. We're allowed to disagree with each other. Dex, what do you think about Chuck Schumer pushing the UFO thing?
So while he's the front man, it is a bipartisan effort. There's multiple people involved on this. The thing that the Hill sort of dug out, they went in and looked at the actual details of the bill. And this is the key part. The quote, any and all recovered UFOs and biological evidence of non-human intelligence that may be controlled by private persons or entities are to be handed over to a Senate-appointed review board. That board would then determine which evidence would be released to the public. So there you go. It may not be released at all. It could be redacted. But while it's possible that panel would be able to withhold evidence from the public to protect national security information collecting practices, it would also be required by law to quote, carry a presumption of immediate disclosure to the public. So what he's saying is, hey, we don't want the people that have this information, if it happens to be there, if there's this secret UFO information in some organization, private or black ops funded by the government is handling it. We want all of that information given to the Senate so we, the Senate, can decide if we can release it quickly to the public. And we should have the presumption of putting it out immediately. Now, these are politicians. It's very meaty. It sounds good. It sounds strong. You'd like to think, wow, this could be it. But again, they have the ability to not release any of it or redact it all, as we've seen in the past.
Love always says there are no space aliens. Chicks hate alien dweebs. Love always. Your name is Love always. You're supposed to always love. Alien dweebs need love too. And by the way, there are a lot of female alien dweebs. So I think that is not exactly true. That's fake news. Alien dweebs are just as good as the rest of us. I'm an alien dweeb. Let's see here. And then we have WormGPT. That's ChatGPT's evil twin. We'll talk about that in a second. But before, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. There is a special, really, one of the best deals. For the last week, they have been doing $80 off on a 1 month supply, which ends up, if you were looking at the 3 month supply before, at $200 off. If you do end up getting 3 months worth, not only are you getting more for your bang for your buck, you're getting actually 3 months for $240 off if you get 3 months supply, 3 1-month supplies. Now, or you can get in at a lower level and get a 1 month at $80 off, which is a huge deal. This is freeze-dried food that will last over 2 decades, 25 years. And again, this is something that will definitely be a good thing to have around, especially if any kind of disaster, from a hurricane, an earthquake, a fire. No, it doesn't matter what it is, as far as if you end up losing power or infrastructure around you in any kind of disaster, let alone an SHTF, that you have some sort of backup food. The great part about this is obviously it is non-perishable. It's going to last 25 years, and it doesn't take up a lot of space because it is freeze-dried, sealed in Mylar bags, and they essentially suck all the water molecules out of it. It takes up very little space. Now, I highly recommend looking at some of the meat packages they have to go along with this, because once you do, you can essentially place any of the freeze-dried meat and then mix it in with the foods and have a full meal. All you have to do is add or cook it with water, and boom, you have almost all of the flavor that it was packed with. That is one of the great positives about freeze-dried. It keeps a lot more of the flavor in. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep, especially if you are one of the many that have about 3 days of food in your fridge. Let alone SHTF happens, it doesn't have to be the end of the world for you to lose power. I just talked to Leah, and she actually lost power in California several times lately. And again, she's now using her generator for different things. And she's taking care of a bunch of animals. There's all sorts of reasons you could lose power. I lose power here all the time. I've used my generators a ton in the last year. So if you are in a place like that, don't get stuck out in the cold. Have yourself some food. marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, you're helping us. You're getting a huge discount, and you are getting yourself prepared. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about ChatGPT's evil twin, WormGPT?
Yeah, so there's apparently what they're describing is a malicious copy of OpenAI's ChatGPT, and it's been created by bad actors, and its aim is to take your money. I don't know if it's literally a copy, because that would mean they would have to go get their code and copy it. But nonetheless, it's a form of large language modeling system, but it's been designed for the bad actors out there, and it's designed to allow them to create sophisticated email phishing attacks. So this company, a cybersecurity firm, /Next, got an opportunity to play with it. They gained access to it, and they were surprised at how really, really well it did at creating a phishing email. Excuse me. For those of you that don't know what phishing is, I'm sure most of you do by now, because we've probably all been hit by it in one way, shape, or form. It is an email that comes in that looks like a legitimate email. It looks like it's coming from your bank, or it looks like it's coming from a friend telling you, hey, can you give me the password or can you log in, or give me whatever I need to the files that we have in our company. It looks like a coworker's email, or it's the bank saying, we need you to update your information. Click here and log into your account. And you click there and log in, and the page you land on looks just like your bank, but in reality it's not, and you end up typing your password in, and that's just giving your password to the bad guys, who then in turn go to your bank, clean it out. So that's what phishing is, phishing emails. So this form of a GPT called WormGPT is producing emails that are remarkably persuasive, strategically cunning, as they've described them, and showcasing its potential for sophisticated phishing and BEC attacks, is the quote that's coming from the company that actually did this analysis, /Next. So kind of interesting. Be on the lookout. It sounds like the phishing scams are going to go up a level. It used to be easy to identify a lot of these phishing emails because you could just look for typos or bad English, or things like that, and wonky looking logos that just don't look right. But now it appears that they're using AI to make phishing emails look pristinely perfect.
Yeah, like when they say your name so horribly wrong, it's a swear word. Like, hello, Mr. We would like to give you free money for you in turn send us free money. Thank you. Send it to Africa. Thank you. Right away, because we only have 100 spots left. Speaking of which, I I thought that I had a $2,000 brick, and I'll explain what I mean. So I actually have a Mavic 2 back before all of the DJI stuff happened, before China got questioned. And basically, if you know anything about drones, the DJI Mavic and all of the Pro series, and they're basically for commercial drone stuff. I used to do a lot of drone work, or especially around CV. I droned all of like the encampments where they held people, and I did drone work when I did the hospital video of the first patient in CV and stuff like that. And I used that drone. And what's absolutely crazy, and you'd probably know this if you are, a hobbyist, but I did not, because I haven't used my drone since February. And I tried to use it the other day when I was at my friend's house. And essentially, I didn't have the app. I went to go get the app, and the app is gone off of the Play Store. Well, then I tried an Apple, and the app was gone there too. And then apparently the app that was on the DJI website, which again, I know DJI is evil and all, but if you have a DJI drone, it's like, well, you're not going to just throw it away, and they're way too expensive to get now. They're just incredible. I could not believe that it was completely gone. So all of the folks, unless they have a Mavic 3 or higher, essentially all of those drones that people spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on, were basically bricks. And when I ended up having to go through DJI's website. When you download the thing, now Google, Galaxy, Android, and Apple have all basically updated their software. So they say, this is evil, this is bad software, we blocked it. So they blocked everything, and it was buggy and it wouldn't even work. I ended up having to do like 3 hours of research to find and to change my operating system on my phone and do all this stuff just so I could fly my drone. It was absolutely insane, and I know why they're doing it, but I had no idea that they essentially just made hundreds of thousands of drones essentially useless. Which says a lot, and it actually told me on how much more serious they are taking the whole China issue. Dex, did you know about this? Like, I don't think we covered anything. I think we covered like it was changing because I knew about it, but I didn't realize that they were making all of these other drones obsolete, and it basically screws over all of the consumers, everybody who bought it at Best Buy or places like this before this whole thing went down. Because it's absolutely insane. It basically makes it useless. And even after I did all of the research to get all of this stuff, it was basically an app that barely worked, and it was an older version and had to downgrade and do all this stuff just to have it work. Did you hear about any of this, Dex?
No, I did not. And unfortunately, drones are the one piece of technology I don't actually play with. I haven't ever owned one. I've often thought about getting into it, but I just never been there. It just seems like a lot of hassle with the FAA and all the rules and regulations.
Well, the thing is like if there was no other brands too. There was no other brands that were even close to DJI, which is really freaky to think that there was really no American brands, or at least none that were really widely known. And if they were a really good American brand, they were $6,000, $8,000, $10,000. So the DJI brand they were killing it for everybody. What also you could say, if you look at the other end of this, Huawei was actually about to surpass Android and Apple, and they said that they were on track to surpass both of them combined. If you remember, you could go into a cell phone store before, and they had the Android phones, they had the Apples, and then they had the Huawei phones in a lot of like T-Mobiles and places like that. And then Huawei, of course, they said, "Oh, we're banning them." One angle of that is, other than China is spying and doing all of that, which they are, was that the fact that anybody, if the Chinese companies impede on the right big companies of the U.S., that they just cut it out, that they are saying it's for some other reason. I honestly think they were using that, but that's kind of freaky when you think about it. That means all of the DJIs, if they really did do all of that, what were the DJI drones being used for? Were they filtering that video from the sky and then using it essentially in China? Was the CCP using the footage that was being taken by all of these drones? which if you know how these drones work, it sends the footage, which is at least at 1080 to the phone, and it actually uses a proprietary software. So they could literally take the footage from millions of drones and then compile it in some sort of AI supercomputer, and they could map out our entire country, not like satellite, like low, high, all different kinds of things, and see things that are top secret. Because I can't tell you how many dummies put their drones up in bad areas. So I was just I was so blown away though, and because I know about that stuff, but at the same time, it's like I can't get a new one, and it's something that it seems like it would screw over hundreds of thousands of people that already had one, and I just couldn't believe that. So it's definitely something I want to look into. And then Phoenix scorches at 110 for the 19th straight day, breaking U.S. city records in global heat wave. So, and again, that's incredible. 19 days straight of 110 degrees. That is nasty. I'm praying for everybody that is in Phoenix right now. That means people are most likely dying, especially the homeless population. I'm sure they are having a horrible, horrible time. Any place that doesn't have AC, luckily Phoenix is a hot area and they probably all have AC. But man, if you had a power outage in something like this, you would really be screwed. Dex, do you guys get hot temperatures there too, right? I mean, we're like 90s and 80s here right now, but we rarely get up to that kind of temp.
Yeah, we're 90s typically. We get the humidity in August. It's the worst. We get the high humidity, so it just feels miserable. And then we occasionally will see 100 degrees, but it's just like a peak high, maybe for a day or half the day or something that happens. We'll get that 3-digit temperature every now and then. But yeah, I couldn't imagine having multiple days at that time. Just, fine if you're staying in your house and you're running your air conditioner, but imagine how bad the electric bill is just to keep the air conditioner running. There were people on airplanes that were stuck on the taxiway that were overheating on the planes because of the plane not being able to maintain enough cool temperature for the occupants inside of it. Because they're not necessarily designed to deal with that. They don't, they have APU units when they're plugged in at the terminal, and they're typically flying up where it's really cold anyway, so they're really trying to heat. They're not usually running air conditioning. So yeah, this is affecting a lot of people, and there's a lot of things. Even the World Health and that organization that goes along with that has come out and put out warnings about the heat and what it does to the body, and the fact that you can have all sorts of sickness from it, etc. So yeah, it's something that this is definitely it's not new. Like, look, we've all had heat waves at different times, but the fact that it's sticking this long, the fact that we're seeing these extremes. I mean, rewind to the winters, we've had extremes there where we had extreme colds, we've had extreme rains, we've had extreme flooding. Now we've got extreme heat. We're probably going to have extreme hurricanes in the next couple months too. I would not surprise me. It seems like the extremes when it comes to anything weather is hitting us every time we turn around now.
Viv says it's been hotter in the past. Well, we had a 118 degree day here, which we have never had in my entire life. That 118, and in most areas it was 116, 114, 112. It was the worst thing I've ever been through. I will never forget that day. It was one day in my entire life I will never forget. I even remember looking up in my car in the little tiny rear view mirror thermometer saying 136 in the car, 118 outside the car. And I thought, I was just so spaced out. I remember I couldn't think straight. I couldn't even talk. I remember doing a show either the day before or day after, and I was just, I just couldn't talk. I couldn't speak because my brain was so fried, and I wasn't even outside most of the time. We had to put blankets upstairs and downstairs, and we had to basically sit in the basement with both ACs going on, and it still was like 95, 97 degrees in our house with AC. I can't imagine that. When people say, there's an argument too here about the whole great change that's going on with our world. You don't have to believe in the warming of everything to believe that things are happening to our environment that is changing the weather. Most folks believe that there is something obviously going on, possibly even nefarious, to make these things happen. Either way, we're all seeing these records being set in every state, and it could be cyclical. Again, there's many arguments, but even the argument that says, hey, this isn't caused by this or that, they even say, yeah, it's going to be bad and it is changing, but it's natural or this or that. Even if it is, then humans are about to go through a crazy cycle, which is probably going to be very miserable. Whatever you believe, again, there's everybody on all sides in this room right now. But I will say, in my life, I have seen some things in the last 5-6 years, and I've covered this, and I've covered every state in the U.S. at least, and I've covered the crazy events that have happened in Europe and in Australia. All these fires that are happening now, it's like the last 5-6 years, we're getting smoke. Some think space weapons, this or that, whatever it may be. It's definitely happening, and we're suffering from it. There's chemicals flying around from all these fires. I mean, like, it's bad. Why though? It's just what is behind all of it. All right, and then we're going to fly through some of this because we've got some big stuff at the end. America is being smoked out again, biggest smoke plume yet, from Canadian wildfires to blanket 23 states today as a code orange warning are issued for vulnerable residents to stay indoors. I even saw videos, Jacob Israel, somebody, a good friend of mine, he is in New York. He did videos of the sky. It was just absolutely terrible. And this was weeks ago. This is still going on. There's still smoke in the air. There are many states that are smelling like rotten animals and chemicals and plastics and things like this in the air. And then, of course, there are the folks that are in Canada. If you guys watch somebody like Canadian Prepper, he's been doing videos upon this because it is, up where he lives. And any of the Canadian creators, I even think not McKinnon, but his other friend, the other guy that he does video reviews and stuff with, the other guy did a video and it just looked horrendous. It looked like something out of Apocalypse, an Apocalypse movie. It was just dark and it was supposedly like 2 p.m, but it looked at nighttime. These fires now have happened here, Washington, California, Oregon. They've happened in Australia. Remember when the entire Australia was circled and then it all went in? Do you remember the Greece fires? Greece actually had it so bad where people, I think it was Greece, right? Dex, if you remember, there was a fire so bad that it actually trapped people on the beach and then ended up they all perished because the fire went all the way up to them and they couldn't go anywhere. Do you remember that? Was that Greece or one of the Greek islands?
I don't remember it, but I'm looking for it. And I think it was. There were people stranded in a beach in Matai, Greece, 2018.
Freebird Kate says, "Blame Canada." South Park song, yes. Blame Canada. Probably get a copyright from South Park. Quit buying Canadian whiskey. Hey, Dangerous Dax. I guess that will help. Only 63 degrees. I'm 30 miles south at Lake Michigan. Western Minnesota was poor air quality last week, says Viv B. I think the fires are biblical, says Linda Sullivan. I have heard that a lot in the last few years, especially Australia. All the animals, I mean, that was just nuts. Australia had some of the craziest apocalyptic scenes ever seen. And then in the Washington, Oregon, it was really crazy here. I have never seen something like that in my life. And what's crazy is we have not experienced this over the last 3 weeks. Well, everybody else, all of my friends on the East Coast have. Even Dex has had it roll through Georgia. I have not seen any of the smoke here. Whereas last year or the year before, it was so bad. We actually brought our coffee stand, one of our air purifier things, so they could breathe. We felt so bad. Their bosses had them work through it. You couldn't see 10 feet in front of you because it was so smoky. It was really, really bad. And it was insane. Never seen anything like. You could look right at the sun, and you couldn't even see it was there. That's how dark it was. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, you were talking about New York and Jacob. There's a couple of pictures in this article. You scroll down that were from just the other day, Monday. You can see what New York City looks like when you're looking at the buildings in the morning time when the sun's up, and then you can see another picture of what the sun looks like through the thickness of all this smoke. And yes, even down here in Georgia, even today, we still have smoke and haze in our sky. I don't smell it, but definitely can see it, and it looks kind of eerie. It's not this thick, not like the pictures here in New York.
Nikolai says, I'm blessed to have a swamp cooler in Colorado, better than AC. But we have swamp. There's little swamp coolers I've gotten from like Walmart, and they don't. I guess you might have a real one, but the crap. Don't ever buy those as seen on TV ones. They just do not work. And then Henry Kissinger meets China's defense minister in surprise visit. Why the defense minister? Why Henry Kissinger? And mind you, people don't think this is too important because it's Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger is always being quoted. He's been quoted more than anybody I've ever seen. It's insane. He says something and people go, oh, Henry Kissinger said this. It's crazy to think about. Yeah, as we're human beings, think about if you are important enough to where people literally write down your quotes and put them in history books. Kind of crazy. But this gentleman is meeting the Chinese defense minister. A couple days ago, John Kerry. You had, of course, the whole list of Bill Gates. Dex, I'm missing a few too, by the way. It's been every other day. There's been somebody, was it Kirby? John Kirby. You had Anthony Blinken, I think. It was either Kirby or Blinken or both. Either way, you have, and then Elon Musk went to Beijing. Now, these could all be separate, just coincidences, but Henry Kissinger meeting the defense minister? Why the defense minister? What would he have doing with him, right?
Yeah, but all those names you just mentioned, there's only one that met with Xi.
Yeah, that would be, was that Elon? Or no.
Bill.
That was Bill. Yeah.
Remember? He was like, everybody's like, why did he get it? That's the crazy part. Certainly Kissinger is interesting because of him being Kissinger, and he's going over there trying to create peace between the two countries. But and good, he should try to do that. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of people going there. It's sort of like when everybody went to Antarctica. It's like why is all of a sudden everybody's taking a trip to China right now?
My theory is that something is being worked out right now. That something is happening now. And Anthony Blinken. Or was it Kirby? I swear, maybe it was Kirby. One of our people went there and assured them that we support the one China policy. And they tried to basically open up military talks when we covered that. It seems like something is happening here. Something behind the scenes. So this is why I say keep your head on a swivel, especially right now. John Kerry. These people are important. They're connected. But they're not the current decision makers that really matter, right? John Kerry is definitely up there. He's in that circle of, I'll do whatever you say, as long as it doesn't involve ketchup, whatever. And you have Henry Kissinger, who is extremely connected. Is he carrying a message? Is he carrying an order? Is he carrying a peace offering? Why the defense minister? That's what doesn't make sense. Again, there's all these different meetings happening right now, and I think they're working something out. So keep your head on a swivel. Right now is extremely important with everything that's going on with Russia, Ukraine, North Korea, with Japan, and now with this. Something is definitely happening. So stay focused, because I think something is awry. Dex, do you have anything else to say on Kissinger?
I just think that it's I agree with you. I think it's interesting that we're seeing so many people head over there, and they're heading, and they're all going with some position of power or authority, and they're having various meetings at various levels. And outside of Anthony Blinken, who you talked about, who gets to meet who gets to meet G and talk to him, it should tell you a lot, I think.
A lot of people said Kerry is reset. like global, right? Is this WEF? Are these all WEF names? I know Bill is definitely involved with all sorts of stuff.
Gary's current role is climate.
Let's see. I just want to check something. If Messenger. Isn't that funny? Part of the WEF. In fact, he's a counselor and trustee, Center for Strategic and International Studies, honorary governor, Foreign Policy Associate, honor member, International Olympic Committee, member of the board, contact group companies, advisor of the board. This is actually from the WEF, right? And they actually have a whole page dedicated to him and the stuff that he's a part of. Oh, JP Morgan and Chase. Isn't it funny how all these different companies, these boards and these committees, these things, and by the way, just look at how many boards he's on. Advisor to the board, International Rescue Committee, company director, International Studies, honorary governor, Foreign Policy Association counselor and trustee. There's all these different things. Defense Policy Board, these boards and committees. This is where stuff gets done. These so-called committees and boards and all of this, some of them might be simple, but some of them are very nefarious. And when you see the ones where there's like a network, it's a web. Just like these websites do these webs of like, here's all the number 17 people that all have this secret network and blah, blah, blah. This is out in the open. The revolving door of politics, the military-industrial complex, and now they have added in the medical complex where it's a revolving door. They're all on each other's boards. I'm sure all of the people that make decisions to go to war also have a couple stocks hidden away with Raytheon and Boeing and Northrop Grumman and all of that. And the and all of the others, right? It all goes back to this. So crazy that the WEF literally has the CX. Creepy. What do you guys think? Before we move on, make sure to get yourself a good solar generator. If you want one of the best, Energy makes one of the best out there. In fact, it is now winning the SBR Phase 2 contract with the U.S. Army. That is specifically their Flex Tactical, their new Energy solar generator that they actually made with the Air Force Research Laboratory, is pretty much as tactical as you can get. It has 1,500-pound latches, so this thing with attached batteries could drop off a truck, and the thing would be just fine. This has a steel-reinforced casing. Of course, it actually has built-in heaters to each battery, so if you're in extreme colds, or if you're taking a vacation with Mr. Gates to Antarctica, then you can, of course, heat up that battery and keep it going. The great part about this is, especially if everything is getting hotter, well, put some solar panels out. You'll have unlimited power. You won't have to buy $5 a gallon gas, and these are absolutely silent. When you plug stuff into this and start it up, you're not going to have people from 3 blocks away knowing that you have power. You can run it inside. You can take it with you. It's portable or it's expandable up to 96 batteries. This also is true for the Flex 1500. It works like Legos. They essentially stack and lock, and then you can bring it with you. Most people will be just fine with the Flex 1500. In fact, this is basically a do-it-all kind of system because you can mod it to essentially triple the input. You can mod it so it's a supercharged. You can mod it so it actually is a UPS and uninterrupted power supply. It is everything and a bag of chips. If you definitely want something that is right now one of the best deals out there and is all built in one and has a built-in battery with the new technology of the lithium ion phosphate, I'd definitely go for the X2. There's 15% off on all the remaining units of this batch. And again, they will continue to make it. I don't think it will be that way with the next batch, but with the remaining ones of the X2, this is a UPS right off the bat. It is 15% off plus our discount. So you are getting a giant discount on something that they rarely ever put discounts on at all. So make sure to go over and get marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. These are, again, solar generators that can charge from the sun, from the wall, or from your car and have that power ready. So if the power goes out, whether it be a storm or SHTF, you can keep going. This one is really cool too. I know this is such a little thing, but when I first got it, I was absolutely blown away by how bright this was. This white area right here is a giant, super bright LED light. Not to mention there's actual accessories that go with all of these that are low wattage things that you can get from Energy that essentially take almost no power. There's chainable lights for the Flex 1500 that go into the Circle plugins. And those chainable lights take like 3 or 9 watts if you do a chain of 3 per hour. And if you did like 10 of them, you could literally run them for months. It was crazy. We did the math on it. And these lights are bright enough to light up a football field. They are so incredible. Those I would highly recommend, especially because we have used those when our power goes out. I can chain them, and it has a really long 10-foot cord between, and I can light my whole house with 3 lights. It's really cool, and basically use no power. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. It helps support us. It gives you a huge discount, and you're getting something that is absolutely imperative for survival in the case of any kind of disaster. Russia massing 100,000 troops for attack on Kharkiv to draw Ukrainians away from the counteroffensive, or the supposed counteroffensive. Before we go on, by the way, thank you so much, Tennessee Mountain Girl. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting Independent. And again, did a super sticker. It looks like I think it's a zombie, but my eyes are bad. It might be somebody with sunglasses. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and thank you for supporting us. Dex, do you want to talk about the 100,000 troops?
So this is coming from a UKR Army spokesperson. And they're basically what they're saying is that in quoting here, the enemy has concentrated a very powerful group, more than 100,000 personnel, more than 900 tanks, and more than 550 artillery systems, 370 rocket salvo systems, end quote. That's what he says. This is Colonel Sherry Batsy from UKR. And he's saying that there's this big mass amassing. And it's also coming at the time when we just talked about yesterday how they're admitting that they had to pause their quote unquote counteroffensive. So this could be, if it's true. Now, on one hand, it's coming from UKR. So it could just be, fluff from their point of view, Ganda from their point of view to try to, get more attention, supplies, support, etc. But on the other side is if this is actually true, and it's coming from their side and it's happening, it could be a sign that Russia is doing something significant, knowing that the counteroffensive hasn't really done much and potentially is on pause because it's not being effective.
Yeah, so we don't know everything that's come out of the UKR side, especially the UKR intelligence. A lot of it has either A, not been verified, B, never come to fruition, or C, was speculation that could never be verified even if somebody did check. It's kind of like saying it's kind of like somebody saying, oh, well, I climbed Mount Everest before they invented cameras and ways to prove it, right? You don't know. With this, it's like they've said so many things about Russia that wasn't verifiable. Same on Russia's side. Everybody is doing propaganda now. It's not like it's a fad or something. It's war. This is part of it. The psyops that are going on right now is not only Russia and Ukraine, it's, of course, the Western nations, and then, of course, the Eastern nations, and the so-called, I don't know what they're calling it, not the axis of evil. Did they come up with a new name for our enemies now? Didn't they say the new axis or something? I swear they
haven't heard, but it sounds like we should give them a name, I'm sure.
What was in Get Smart? What were the was it the axis of evil in Get Smart? What was the bad guys? Or was it not Get Smart? It was gosh, now I can't remember. Chat, do you guys know? Axis of Biden. The axis of awful. That's good. Well, do you guys remember the classic Get Smart? What were the bad guys called? Axis of something. Is it chaos? Axis of chaos? No, it's commanders of chaos or chaos. Yeah, chaos stood for something. Or was it Axis of Chaos? That show is so funny. If that was before your time, you should rewind and go watch it. It was such a funny show. There was so many just hilarious show. The Cone of Silence. Not the Steve Carell remake. That was okay, but nothing touches that original Get Smart show. Russian fighter jet flies dangerously close to U.S. warplane over Syria. A Russian fighter jet flew very close to a U.S. surveillance aircraft over Syria, forcing it to go through a turbulent wake and putting the lives of the 4 American crew in danger, U.S. officials said Monday. The officials said the incident, which happened just before noon EDT on Sunday, was a significant escalation in what had been a string of encounters between U.S. and Russian aircraft in Syria in recent weeks. The intercept of the Russian Su-35 impeded the U.S. crew's ability to safely operate their MC-12 aircraft. One thing I think about is how they can just cover up something. Even if something did happen, these things, a lot of people are going to say, well, this is worrying because if there was any kind of mistake, if they hit each other, then this could turn into World War III. I bet you there's been plenty of instances where they actually hit and a Russian plane and a U.S. plane or a Chinese plane and a U.S. plane went down. And it was bad or it was on purpose. And then they called each other and they just covered it up. I bet you there's been tons of those. So I think that the only reason war would be done over one person or one thing like this is if they wanted it to. Kind of like the shady situation around the missile that happened to go into Poland and just happened to hit a piece of farming equipment with 2 farmers on it. Like that, they said, oh, it was an accident, and they said, oh, it might have been some ricochet off of whatever. I think that was Russia. Because remember, Dex, but that situation, right? They said, basically they said, oh, it wasn't us or whatever. Ukraine said, that wasn't our stuff. And for the first day, they said, no, it absolutely wasn't us. And then later said, oh, yeah, it was us. Sorry about that. Well, it turns out, like a couple months later, Dex, we actually covered that Russian missiles were hitting farming equipment in Ukraine because the missiles thought that they were tanks. Do you remember this?
Yep. Well, that's correct.
But it's like that situation, everybody said that could cause World War III, but it was covered up. Same with these plane incidents. We're seeing a ton of them because right now there's obviously U.S. jets and planes and these huge Poseidons flying around, all these things. And then they always chase them off with a fighter jet, this or that, whether it be off Alaska, us chasing them off, Russia chasing us off in the sea, or China chasing us away from Taiwan or the South China Sea. All these incidents happen. But the only way I think this would turn into a war is if they want it to. Otherwise, they will just cover it up. If they're not ready for war, they'll call each other and say, oh, it's all good, sorry about it, and then make a cover story, and that person's family will never get the truth, or they won't be able to ever tell the truth about how their family member died or something like that happened. Dex, about the plane, it was a pretty close run.
This is a bigger escalation, and definitely. So look, this was happening with the drones. We even saw one drone that went down. It's been happening over and over and over again with drones in Syria. So much so that we just recently, in the last 20 days, I think it was, may have been a couple weeks ago, said we were moving F-22s into that region, specifically because of the fact of what these Russian fighter jets are doing to our aircrafts. Now that they've done it to an aircraft that has humans in it, again, not a fighter craft, this was a surveillance craft, but there were 4 humans on that plane. That takes it to a much different level than, intimidating a drone and possibly making a drone, lose its way or in the worst case scenario, crash, which one did. So, this is a huge escalation. I don't think they're going to sit back and take this lightly. I don't know if we were going to see the F-22s engaged in this just yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if we don't start to see a little bit more of that. And we probably see some run-ins between F-22s and the Su-35s and other things that Russia's flying in that area.
We'll see. And again, we won't know until it actually happens. And if stuff does go really, really bad, we will let you know. And then Russia hits Ukraine targets in, quote, mass retaliatory strike after bridge attack. This was actually expected. Dex actually kind of called exactly this. Russia's defense ministry said on Tuesday that it had hit military targets in 2 Ukrainian port cities overnight as a mass revenge strike in response to an attack on the Crimean Bridge the previous day, which it blamed on Kiev. And I believe they took responsibility. The ministry said it had struck Odessa, where the UKR Navy has its headquarters, and Mykolaiv, near Ukraine's Black Sea coast. The armed forces of the Russian Federation carried out a mass retaliatory strike overnight using precision sea-based weapons against facilities where T attacks against the Russian Federation were being prepared using uncrewed boats, which it literally describes the uncrewed remote sea-doo thing we talked about yesterday. Now, this is one point I have made before, is that this is coming off of a Navy boat. This is a sea-based weapon. These Tomahawk-type weapons, I don't know if that would be a good description of it, but they have missiles that they can launch from their Navy boats that go in hundreds of miles in and can hit almost any target. It also kind of goes into the fact I've said they have not used all the stuff they can. If they wanted to crush UKR and just turn it all to rubble, I think Russia could, even with all the NATO infrastructure that all the freebie hand-me-downs we've given them, because Russia has a huge military and they have very advanced stuff. People want to pretend that they're all backwoods and totally backwards and 100-year-old rifles, but that's what they were, putting in at first, basically to see how much damage they could do with prisoners, draftees that were just pulled off the street and 60-year-old guys like, here's a rifle, go fight for your country. And then come in the trained guys. Now we're starting to see the trained guys, the T-90 Terminator tanks. Now we're seeing the sea-based strikes. This is when the real war is going to start. Now we're going to see a lot more of the experimental weapons that they're now going to be testing in live fire, in real life situations. That's what I think. And I think this is about to get a lot hotter. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what is happening. Let's see here. Mr. Shappy Dog. Hey, Mrs. Happy Dog. I just called you Shappy Dog. Mrs. Happy Dog, nice to see you. Zenato 19, Jonathan Floming, Hash Cats, Danish Girl, hey, nice to see you. And we have MK Sonmar, Live Your Life, the Jake Lee, nice to see you. And then U.S. and NATO grapple with critical ammo shortage for Ukraine. Because we're giving it all away. U.S. and Europe are struggling to provide Ukraine with the large amount of ammunition it will need for a prolonged counteroffensive against Russia. And Western officials are racing to ramp up production to avoid shortages on the battlefield that could hinder Ukraine's progress. Isn't it funny? So I don't know if you guys have seen this clip of Tucker Carlson interviewing Mike Pence. And some are saying that it's taken out of context. I saw the whole unedited thing. So I don't know how it could really be taken out of context. Dex, do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know if you've seen this yet.
No, I haven't.
Oh, geez, I got to send you this. So Tucker Carlson is interviewing all of the Republican candidates, and he's basically saying to Pence, a lot of people said that Pence's career is over. His bid for president is now gone because essentially Tucker Carlson said, you want more tanks for Ukraine. You know, basically you've seen the streets in the United States go to filth. The jobs going, the economy's going, all this stuff is falling apart. And he goes, you're more concerned about Ukrainian tanks and blah, blah, blah. And are you not at all concerned about what's going on in the United States? And then Mike Pence says, no, that is not my concern at all. and then says, I've heard your rhetoric, blah, blah, blah. But what I think is important is the Ukrainian situation and getting them secure so something worse doesn't happen. You can look at it multiple ways. People could say instantly they can go, Pence is like totally doesn't give a crap about us. He cares more about arming Ukraine instead of, paying for our infrastructure here and caring about our people, and basically doesn't give a crap about us. There is a small chance, though, that maybe Mike Pence and some others do know something, but I highly doubt it. Like, maybe they are doing this because there's about to be this huge world war, something else, and they know that after UKR, they're going to take everywhere else. But not a lot of us believe that. But I think that that's what they're trying to sell us. Did you see the Pence clip? And what did you think about that? Did they take it out of context? Because I even saw a longer clip that was them both side by side, and it never switched camera angles. Either way, it sounds like he did answer that question like that. And it's like, why are these politicians more concerned about Ukraine than they are about us? And now they're turning into like you're a racist or something if you think otherwise. Because there's this whole thing like where they've said, if you care about basically taking care of our country before any other country, that you are that, right? I don't think that's the case at all. Nobody is blaming them for taking care of their own country, but are they taking care of any other smaller countries? Or is, there's all of these countries taking care of this country. Well, this country before this was super, super corrupt. Just like, I don't know, 1 minute ago. Dex, go ahead.
What I wonder is, why are they telling us this now? Why do they want us to know this? And why are they letting the media run rampant with it? Specifically, one of the quotes or one of the statements that's coming out in here was that U.S. officials emphasized to CNN that there's a set level of munitions in the U.S. stockpiles around the world, essentially an emergency reserve, that the military is not willing to part ways with. The level of those stockpiles are obviously classified, but officials are saying that the U.S. has been nearing the red line of those levels, and it's continuing to supply UKR with the ammo. So if we're at that critical level where we're hitting our red line of what our emergency reserves are, and we can't produce, we ramped up. It says we ramped up production last year when they realized that this conflict was going to drag on. So in addition to us ramping up production and giving away what we have, we still don't have enough for them. If we don't have enough and we can't produce it for them, what is that going to say for us when we need it? If all we have is what's in our emergency reserve stockpile, and we need shells or we need whatever ammunition it is, we're not going to be able to produce it because we can't even produce it fast enough for UKR. How are we going to produce it fast enough for ourselves to defend ourselves against Russia or China or some other, major conflict that involves directly with the U.S.?
What's freaky is like if China ever, if they ever thought of it, like if we were to ever go to war with the U.S. at any point, you would think it would be at a point where we are at our weakest, or we had no ammo, or we were in a situation where we couldn't, do two different things. All of the studies say that we would lose a two-front war. That's the only way we would lose, is if we were fighting Russia and China at the same time. Even add in NATO, but then you add in all of their allies. The way we would lose is if it was spread out in multiple fronts. If we just fight China, we can win. If we just fight Russia, we can win. But if we fight both on two different fronts, that's where all the war games and simulations on all ends, on the U.S., Russia, and China, they've all said that the U.S. would lose. Our Pentagon has said we can't handle that. Now, all of our ammo is being sent there. Say this mass thing goes up. There's a massive counteroffensive. They are acting like now they're just straight up saying it, even in campaigning, saying, no, we got to give them everything we got. We need to give them more. We are already at the point where we're giving them jets. Where it goes from here, it doesn't go backwards. It's not like they're going to be debating about giving them javelins. It's just going to be more and more money, and now it's going to be stronger and stronger stuff. At one point, do we just like straight up give them tactical nukes or nuclear weapons? Where does it stop? Do we give them the F-35s, F-22s? We give them the most advanced 5th generation fighter jets, whatever else? That's looking where it's going to go. But the point is, is that all of this ammunition, say there, it really does get hot over there. It's not a world war yet, but UKR is now in a huge, massive conflict. They have 200,000 troops heading towards Russia. Russia has amassed 100,000 troops, all of this and everything else. Guess who's giving them all the ammo? They have zero left of their own stuff. Now everything is being manufactured in NATO countries and being sent there. This is World War II all over again. We're sending our ammo and our money over to Europe for a war that we are not involved in. It is not our dispute. But yet they're saying it's our dispute because if Russia takes them, it is all based on the narrative that if Russia takes over Ukraine, it will then take over the rest of Europe and the rest of our allies will be in trouble. Basically, after they take Ukraine, then they'll be taking on NATO and then it will be our fight. So this is all under that premise. So right now, if any time that China was going to attack us, you would think, or go to war where they know that we're probably going to maybe reserve ourselves from jumping in, would be right now. And it might explain why Biden said that essentially everything's going to go back to made in America again. It might explain why even these huge companies that the U.S. was making tons of money off of are getting banned, like DJI drones and Huawei and TikTok and all of this other stuff. Maybe they are separating from China. Maybe they will bring stuff back here, but I don't think it won't come at a cost. Something is about to go down. You can feel it in your bones that something is about to happen. But where does it end? All right, and then what if we don't have ammo? How are we even going to defend ourselves, especially if we're facing another major state actor? Before we move on, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. If you don't know what an EMP Shield is, make sure to ask around. There's a lot of Fugel family members who already have an EMP Shield protecting their cars, their trucks, their boats, their houses, their generators, even their ham radios against either an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, or a CME, a coronal mass ejection from the sun. This can handle both, and it can handle multiple. If an EMP happens, it would be in waves. It would actually keep coming. And this can actually protect against multiple. In fact, they tested it 41 or 42 times before it was like basically overkill. This can ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your car, truck, boat, RV, whatever you end up putting this on, so you can keep going. This is the EMP Shield Micro. It's about a third of the size of a regular one and all of the same protection. This is how easy it is. Red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and then green to ground. 3 wires that you clip in, and then boom, you're done. That's how easy this is. It takes less than 10 minutes to put in your car and truck, and then that car or truck will run after multiple EMPs or a CME or a Carrington level event. Go to marfugglenews.com/EMP for a $50 discount per device, and you'll be helping support our channel. Again, that will give us a commission and you a discount. It's a win-win for everybody. And again, this is something that will protect you and keep your stuff running. Now, the home version, people go, well, what if the grid doesn't come back on? Well, if it hopefully will eventually, even in 6 months, all of your stuff, instead of being fried, and then who knows what the situation would be then, if there's even somewhere that can manufacture new stuff to replace it, you would be able to plug your stuff back in when the grid does come back on. Or if you have your everything protected in your home, you can essentially then, after the EMPs or the CME is done, you can go grab a generator and then plug all of your regular home stuff into that. So that is why you would do a home version. Not to mention it can protect you against regular lightning strikes. If you're somewhere with a lot of lightning, that's definitely a really good thing to have. For its price, this is an extremely affordable way to know that you're going to be able to get out of the house to bug out or to get home to bug in. marfugglenews.com/EMP. Thank you guys for supporting Independent. And then arresting Vladimir Putin in South Africa would be declaration of war, says Ramaphosa. Dex, do you want to go over this?
So as we have talked, the president in South Africa has been pretty adamant about saying he's going to protect, or he should use the military to bring Vlad in and get him right back out, and he should not be arrested. But there's actually another group, an opposition group, a significant opposition group there that has been going to court trying to force the authorities to actually carry out the arrest of Putin should he show up and set foot in the country. And what's coming out is in those court documents that the president there is saying that they have, that they don't want to do it because it's a national security. It would be a declaration of conflict to them. It would be inconsistent with their constitution and risk engaging war with Russia. That's what he's afraid of, and that's why he is not. He is on the side of, I want him to come to our country, and we're not going to arrest him. This is not the first time, by the way. So, just as a recap, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has an arrest warrant out for Putin. You probably, if you've been here any length of time, you've heard this. We talked about it before. And South Africa is one of the ICC countries, meaning they have to abide by it. They've signed on to the ICC. They have to abide by it. But it's not the first time they've actually ignored it. Bashir went through there. Sudan's then President Omar al-Bashir, who was wanted for war crimes against his own people. They actually refused to honor it back in 2015. So they've done this before. But it's interesting that there is a group inside South Africa that is fighting in the court system to try to force the president to have to arrest Putin should he show up.
It's all a bunch of lip service, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Let me know. The Few, thank you for your support, says XRP is not a security. XRP to the moon. The Few, and then Dingus Chubb says no injuries active. Clay Kokomo Ford plant. Dex, hey, thank you, Dingus, and I appreciate that. I feel weird thing. Thank you, Dingus, like I'm calling you a name there. Active Bang Bang event at Clay Como Ford plant. If we can pull that up and maybe add it to the show if there's anything pertinent. Thank you for that. And again, if you see, just like Mr. Chubb, if you see breaking news, let us know. We can add it into the show, and we can add it into the overflow and web content as well. Kingdoms of Erden, did you get the poem I emailed you? No, I have not seen it yet. It doesn't mean I didn't get it. I just haven't seen it. I get so many emails, and I apologize. I cannot get to all of them humanly possible. I gave up trying to read every single one a few years ago, and I let you guys know because just so you guys know, when I first started the first 3 years that I did this channel, I read every single one of them, and it got to the point where I was a year behind, and it was like I was responding to, like, it was, say, February of the year. I was responding to January of the year before's emails. So I kind of gave up trying to please everybody. I'm only one human. And then now I kind of respond as I get notifications. If I see your email, I go to it, and then I try to go back 2 weeks, and I try to cover as many as possible. But yeah, I can look for it, but you also have to remind me, and I don't mind if you send me multiples. I really don't. So if you want to send it to me again today and then put something in the title or in the subject that I would see. Nickelwise, Klaus's mentor, boss Jacques Attali. Nickelwise. Are you? Maybe you're saying that to Henry Kissinger? Maybe. I know Klaus from the WEFE, but I don't know. And then Wagner moved to Belarus, gives mercenary group ability to quickly strike NATO. Russian politician warns. So they're saying, at least this person is saying, that it's because of Wagner's group movement that this is actually a bad thing for NATO, because now they're able to reposition the forces to Belarus, and it puts Russia in a position to quickly strike vital NATO targets near Poland and Lithuania, according to a former Russian army officer. Which is actually, what's funny is when they first went there under this whole whatever mutiny you call it, I call it a fake mutiny, people actually questioned. And it's usually, like, always the most logical answer is usually it. What is that, Occam's razor or something? Which, by the way, Occam's razor's here tonight, so nice to see you. But back then, people were saying, oh, maybe they just did this whole thing so they could move Wagner to Belarus under some ruse and under this, and then they're actually going there so they can strike something. But that's essentially what Andrei Kartopolov, a Russian politician and former colonel in the Russian military, told Russian state television that the private military company Wagner Group could strike the border region of Poland and Lithuania in a matter of hours from its new location in Belarus, according to a report from The Sun. Russian mercenary group's presence in Belarus comes after an apparent failed uprising by Wagner Group and its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, last month as part of a deal with the Kremlin to end the uprising. This whole, and again, it was so fake. If you know, you know. And if you don't, ask somebody why. As part of a deal with the Kremlin to end the uprising, Prigozhin agreed to exile to Belarus. I'm not buying it. And then especially how fake Lukashenko's. You know what's so funny? I don't speak Lukashenko's language, but you can just tell that they're like shady actor dudes. Especially Lukashenko. Like in the U.S., there's politicians the same way. When I look at somebody like John Kirby or something, or Anthony Blinken, or like Jean-Pierre, the House Speaker, you can just tell when they're, when they're up to something. Chuck Schumer, another good one. Pelosi, like, that they're just doing whatever they're told, and they're good, yes men. Lukashenko, I think, is a yes man. But what's your opinion? Let me know. Dex, what do you think?
Well, there's other, I think it's funny that he calls it an apparent, the author of this article calls it an apparent failed uprising, because that could be either way. That could be positive or negative. Depends on how you want to read into it. But anyway, the other thing is that there's also some reports, and of course all this can be Ganda, that even Lukashenko can't afford the Wagner bill. Lukashenko wants to talk to Putin about it, but Putin's not talking to him about it. Those are some of the other rumors that are going around about this. So, it seems like a lot of work just to move them over, because if they really just wanted to move them over, they would have moved them over, and nobody would have, it would have been an article for a couple of days and that's it.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Either way, in the last 24 hours, we've gone over pretty much all of the most important stuff. Really, it's not getting any better. And that's why we prep. That's why the more you prep, the more you prepare for situations, both mentally and physically, the better you will be prepared for it. Ilea says, oh, I'm so late. Hey, Ilea, by the way, I shouted you out earlier because you were the one who let me know about the defection to South Korea or North Korea, which we talked about how shady that whole thing is, or at least in my opinion it is. And shout out and prayers, again, prayers for Pops. Pops, I hope that you're doing well, and I hope you heal up really, really fast. And I'm so sorry that you went through some heartache there. So I'm praying for you, and I hope you heal fast. Okay, Pops? And then to Tennessee Mountain Girl, thank you. For Love of Country 1, thank you. The Few, Dingus Chubb, Kingdoms of Erden. And then thank you, special thank you to, again, Yobi, Poco Loco, WizTech, Durango X Nubaru, Zenato 19, Hopkinson. Thank you for gifting out badges over on DLive. Holiday Kisser, thank you for gifting out badges to Hopkinson. And then Digital Mouse and TWKRZ 108 FM, thank you for following. Swatch IC and Kimbria, wherever you are. And thank you, everybody that has popped in over at Rumble as well. Thank you, my Rumble crew, Murphy's Law and Drop, if you're over there. Thank you, guys. Love you. Again, appreciate you. Dex, let's go over the web only.
Lots happening. Head over to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you to this page with all of the links and sources to everything we just covered. You'll find this yellow bar. It says overflow. And the first thing you'll find there is the update on the Ford assembly plant. I got that posted there so you can see what's happening. with what may be going down there. There's a lot of other updates happening. So some stuff from the leak theory that went on over in Xi's country. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's also some interesting messages coming out revealing some stuff about Dr. F, everyone's favorite doctor. The stuff with Biden's son is getting more attention again as it relates to potential FBI and IRS interviews. So if you're interested in learning about that, another update on the submersible that went down, the submarine that went down to the Titanic. And one of the interesting things in that 60 Minutes, I think it was Australia, that those 60 Minutes in Australia did this interview with a guy who went on it. He said it was like bang bang shots going off every so often as you're going deeper and deeper. You hear these loud explosional pops from I guess the composite material, as opposed to it being solid material. It's composite material. And he even thought it was rickety, or not rickety. I'm making that word up for him, but he had some statements to say about it. So if you want to learn more about that interview with the guy who actually went on it, I think he went on the second deep dive of that sub after it was built. He said it was pretty scary. We do have some updates on what's going on, additional updates with UKR and Russia. So all of that stuff is covered there. And then we've got the updates on the political spectrum. There's, they're expecting a new potential indictment of Trump and all of that. So if you're looking for it, it's covered. Even, Israel's looking for stuff that they think now is in his home that he took home with him that he shouldn't have, that was like on loan to the country, not to him personally. So they're just, the stuff's just coming out from all different angles at this point. More commentary on the Oppenheimer movie. I guess we're all sort of waiting to see if it's really as good as they say it is, but the quotes are, "This one blows the doors off the hinges, and it's quote unquote the most important film of this century." So more people are seeing it, or more critics are seeing it and talking about it. So that's all there. We do have additional updates around what's going on in big tech. There's an interesting article about Silicon Valley and how it's kind of almost like it's a predatory pricing that they do in the economics around Silicon Valley, and it's kind of crazy. I don't want to dive into it. You guys got to read it if you're interested in that. It's more of a tech article, but a poor woman was actually gored in Yellowstone by bison. So that story is there, and much more. So we've got all of it right on our website. Go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link. It's down below in the description. It'll take you right here.
Thank you, Dex, and make sure to always check that for all sorts of things that are added in. Again, that Ford event says that it was possibly even a fake swatting call or something. Don't know, but again, it would still appreciate. I forget who that was. Shoot, who was that? Let me make sure to give the credit back to the right person here. Dingus, thank you, and I appreciate that. Either way, let us know the second it happens, and we'll get it into the show. Thank you, Dex. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Much love and great job, brother.
And thank you, Bones, I saw in here. Ilea, thank you. Jammer and Chance over on DLive, thank you. And Jammer over on YouTube, thank you. CJ Blaze, Gem, Lisa R. Hall, thank you. Rip Curl Readiness, RJL Harris, Ilea, Trinity, Red Pill, Blue, the whole shebang. That's Trinity quotes the whole shebang. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. And Wages World. Wages is awesome. Make sure to go check out all of their channels over at marfooglenews.com/friends. Also, check out really great mentions, Alaska Prepper for his Payday Preps. Great series that he did there. All Day, Every Day, RE55, Bible Talk 777, and all of the rest. Make sure to go check them out. Jacob Israel's over there. Everybody out there. Paul and Adrian's new channel over there. So make sure to go check them out. All right. Thank you, guys. Much love. Thank you. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. mountain. I said, oh, thank you, Tennessee Mountain Girl. Tennessee Mountain Girl, I sit on the bed. Everybody want love. Tennessee Mountain Girl. Let's make a fresh one for Love of Country 1. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Tennessee Mountain Girl. Tennessee Mountain Girl. Tennessee Mountain Girl. Tennessee Mountain Girl. Tennessee Mountain